the players might want to know if the person is lying. But the question, I guess, yeah, like we already said, is like, okay, well, how would you know that a person is lying? There's really no way to completely tell. Like even polygraphs aren't perfect, you know?
Right.
And so you would just have to make an educated guess based off of X, Y, and Z that you paid attention to. And so I think that's the key there too. Is that a lot of times I think we just wave this magic wand called a D20 and say, if it's high, I get what I want, and if it's low, then I don't. You know.
Then somebody else roll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Then, then
Well,
then we just work our way down the other
yeah.
seven players at the table.
Which that's something that me as a day I'm trying to get better at of, you know, that's why I want the players to be descriptive with what they're doing because if you say, "Oh, I'm looking around, I'm the one watching," then if I'm having someone roll a perception check, it's going to be you,
Mhm.
not Joe Schmo who was
Right.
asleep. Just because he's there doesn't mean he gets to see, "Oh, do I see it?" No, you don't because you're not paying attention, you're not actively looking. That's not your role. And
That's a
so
good point.
the whole going down the roll and rolling until someone gets it, it's just at that point, okay, whoever has the highest perception, just roll because there's no point in the wizard rolling that when the cleric can just top it by rolling a 4. Like, so it it it's specific. It's also rewarding to the players because their actions were, it's like, oh well, okay,
Yes,
maybe I need to be
absolutely.
doing stuff. And so,
It's a good way to teach your players too, right? Because if
mhm.
everyone's just walking down the road looking at the ground and then all of a sudden they get ambushed, um, and they're like, well, but I didn't make a perception check or whatever. Um, it's like, well, you didn't tell me you were being very vigilant, you know? Things like
And
that.
there's something else with that too that I think that once again, this is the definition between great and good DM is what if they're walking the party's walking down the road and the barbarian is he's walking down the road but he's off to the side because he or maybe it's the ranger because they're scouting for some berries or doing some sort of something that involves let's say a survival check or a nature check that has nothing to do with scouting for enemies. The fact that they're trying to be perceptive of seeing something very specific around them, they would effectively notice something out of place too, such as a perception check. This whole idea that perception and insight is like the almighty god role, like they can it's either perception or it's an insight. There's nothing else in the game is not true. We have history, we got arcane, we got survival, we got nature, there's perception. Those are all three sort of perceptive like checks, but they're all specific to something different. Survival is maybe something like you're tracking versus nature. You just know, hey, that tree is not native here. That's out of place. Or perception is I'm actively looking for birds or something that's out of place. Like,
Sure.
so there are specifics that I think we need to try and venture out of this perception and insight lock that we seem to have as a community. I don't know. But I've noticed that,
Uh,
yeah, perception, if you don't have perception and stealth in D&D or insight, those are the three that I always go to because
yeah.
you never ever need anything else.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. Unless your DM challenges you, I think.
Right.
Yeah, you can get away with a lot doing that way, right? It's the same build in Skyrim as your thief archer build.
Oh,
You just sneak
the one
around,
shot
shoot
queen.
everything, don't ever
Yeah.
have to worry about anything. So that's how it goes. That's how it goes.